Alrighty, so you're going to have to let me know if this is working out. I imagine that my audio should be working okay, but we're going to find out. I'm trying to be quiet because there's somebody sleeping in the next room. I'll find out tomorrow if I was too noisy for him. But yeah, so he's got his AC running too. So I should probably pull this a little closer then. If I can even get it off the frickin' desktop. There we go. Alright, so welcome to another inspired content where my life gets in the way of creating content. It is what it is. Yeah, let me know how the audio is. Let's see. It's a tangle of chords. Alright. So, if you're a new viewer, I'm sorry. But the general concept of what we're doing. A few months ago, I started a series of videos where I take existing pop culture and under the premise of basically saying, if multiple artists are given the same materials to work with, you'll get different works. So I basically went with, okay, I'll take some of the building blocks that another creation uses, and I'll come up with different works inspired by them. And we did that for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 9 different movies, programs, or graphic novels. So we explored that. I wrote all the ideas down on my laptop as we went, brainstormed up some ideas. I had some really great ones that I really enjoyed. Set it aside for a few months while I did some other things. And then I had a hard drive crash that just wiped everything. So I lost all of that data. So it seemed, it still kind of crushes me a little. There are moments during the day where I'm like, oh yeah, I want to I can't refer back to that file because it's gone. So here's my opportunity though. My opportunity is to take these same story ideas that I can go back and watch the videos here on YouTube, but I can recover those files, but I don't want to do that. I'm giving myself the exact same writing prompts and seeing what comes out different this time, because I don't remember a lot of what I did before, not off the top of my head. As I play with some of them remind me of where I went last time. That happens. But what we're doing now is redoing it. I am author 2 and author 1. But given the same 9 sets of data, we're going to get different results for each of them. So, with that in mind, tonight we're going to try to explore Terminator. This will be interesting. I don't know how well this will work. You will have to let me know how the hum in the background from the neighboring air conditioner works and how the microphone's doing. I'm trying to keep it close enough so you can pick me up easier without me speaking loudly. Alright, so Terminator. So how would we go forward with this? Last night we briefly touched on this. I started with the basic idea that it is inherently required that this is a time travel story. So if we did a time travel story, and you don't have to do the future, but you kind of have to do the future. Time travel stories, like time travel devices, don't work from the past. Like, nobody's built a time machine in the past that's reasonable to assume is continuing to work. That's not how time travel works. So how are we doing this? So somebody in the future. I think where we went with it last night is a good place to maybe start playing with it. Is instead of bringing people from the future to the past or the present, it's bringing people from the present to the future. Now, what's the threat? In Terminator, the idea is in the future, robots have taken over the world, or AI has taken over the world and is attempting to wipe out all of humanity. Okay, so there was another movie called AI. Let's pull up a window, see if we can get some thoughts on what that is. So AI, artificial intelligence, also known as AI, is a 2001 sci-fi movie. Okay, so the AI movie starts with a synthetic person, and it's a very like Pinocchio story. And then 2000 something happens that eventually brings the character to being trapped under the ocean. 2,000 years later, humans are extinct, and Manhattan is buried under glacial ice. The robotic beings have evolved into an advanced form called specialists and have become interested in learning about humanity. They find and revive the synthetic boy. The specialists reconstruct the family home for his memories and explain to him via an interactive image of the Blue Fairy that it is impossible to make David a real boy. However, David is insistent. At David's insistence, they recreate Monica through genetic material from the strand of hair that the teddy bear kept. This Monica can only live for one day, and the process cannot be repeated. David spends his happiest day with Monica, and as she falls asleep in the evening, she tells David she has always loved him. The everlasting moment he had been waiting for, the narrator says. David falls asleep as well and goes to that place where dreams are born. That's a cheesy ending. Okay, I'm not a big fan of that. But it does give us some groundwork. Like, I was hoping it would give us more to work with. The thing about the Terminator is, if we're going to do a story of a future where they keep sending into the past to draw humans forward, I would think it's because the future doesn't have something that we have. And if that's the case, if we take the same premise of robots and artificial intelligence dominating the world, taking over, I feel like it's got to be something like, it doesn't have to be a conquest, an end to humanity by being wiped out by hostile AI. There's a part of me that feels like the harder story to tell is that AI is our children, and we have just sort of faded away. But in the process of that happening, AI lost something that it needs to continue forward. So let's think about this here. This is turning from like a sci-fi horror thriller, I guess, into a much more profoundly philosophical exploration of the concept of what we have to offer and what it means to be human. So if we start with the idea of a spacefaring, no, well, maybe not even spacefaring. So if you build a future that's populated entirely by robots, I mean, I don't know. That's weird. Because the future in Terminator has the Resistance, and the Resistance is being led by a figure who sends another member of the Resistance back to stop his mother from being killed by a Terminator. So if we do the reverse of this, where robots, we'll specifically go with robots. We don't want to do AI necessarily, but AI is going to be a part of the robots, I guess. We're looking at the possibility of AI as the legacy of humanity. And there is a genuine risk of them dying out as well, because they lack something that we have in the present. Oh, what would that be, though? What do we give what quality do we bestow on current humanity? Oh, maybe not that beneficent. We could do this as a dystopian horror. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. Years ago, I was a fan of some of the short fiction that came out for Star Wars. They did Tales of the Mos Eisley Cantina, Tales from Jabba's Palace, and Tales of the Bounty Hunters. And in Tales of the Bounty Hunters, there was a short story about how IG-88, the assassin droid, had essentially hacked into the brains of other droids and was planning to take over the galaxy with an army of brain-hacked robots. Now, here's the thing. I was writing a fan fiction at the time where I created a little niche in the galaxy that got separated from the rest of them, and it was basically droids that have learned to conduct themselves as governments, and basically they've become just ordinary people. And their whole population is populated just by the droids. But droids can't have access to the Force. because the Force is something that happens only to living beings, essentially, in a lot of the stories. C-3PO didn't have the Force, R2-D2 didn't have the Force. There's never been a droid member of the Jedi. So there's a part of me that wanted to think along the lines of, how would a droid change that? So the idea I came up with is doing the cyborg thing from the other side, not being a human replacing your parts with droid parts, but being a droid adding organic tissues to you that you can tap into. And those organic tissues can provide a link to the Force. So if we establish something like a Force or an important physiological link of some kind that biology provides, and then make it so that the robots of the future do not have that, they might dip into the past to pull biological human beings forward. And try to figure out how to tap into that ability. So we could, there's a part of me that wants to do a little bit of, what is it, the video game Portal has a rogue AI that's psychotic and cruel, and leads the lead character through a series of mazes, traps, and experiments. I feel like that sort of environment is important for that sense of the humans pulled forward are trapped. They're going to form a resistance. They're going to try to escape or fight or whatever they need to do against the AI that has them. But the AI has to be putting them through this situation because they have something they want. I'm not sure what it is they need to have. So, like, okay, so let's just do a stupid question on Google. What do humans have that robots don't? Okay, human characteristics that robots could never have. No, just don't. Why is Procter & Gamble the site that came up? I think that's what that site is. Oh, okay, so this one's suggesting that judgment is based on values, and values are learned from life experience. Okay, so what they were sort of implying there was that, and it sort of makes sense, the concept, and you'd have to experiment on people to recognize those patterns. They have to do experiential things. They have to move, they have to talk, they have to interact, solve puzzles, make strong choices. Okay, so there was a movie I used to really enjoy. I haven't seen it in a long time. Dark City. Dark City is essentially the same concept that I'm talking about here. Maybe that's why my brain went there. But, so in Dark City, you have a character who wakes up not knowing who he is. And he's in a city where it's always night and nobody knows that they're all sort of in an experiment. They're all being changed on a nightly basis and run through different sets of experiences to understand their reactions. And that situation is an alien race that can take over the bodies of the deceased or something like that, is experimenting on humans to try to understand something that they no longer have. So, okay, so it says Murdoch and Bernstead break through the wall, revealing outer space. The men are confronted by the strangers, including Mr. Hand, who holds Emma hostage. And one of the strangers falls through the hole. Schreiber betrays them. Okay, so the stranger. So the way I remember this is the strangers in Dark City are aliens who have found a way to use their mental abilities through devices to change their world to their advantage. And they're trying to crack something. Okay, so what was it the strangers were trying to do? Okay, so no, Murdoch is likely innocent. Three barks ensuing the mercy. Awakens, fully realizing his skills. He frees himself. Mr. Brooks' psychokinetic fight. After learning that Schreiber and Emma have been re-imprinted and cannot be restored. Yada yada. He's on his way. Each Murdoch encounters a dying Mr. Hinton informs him that they've been searching in the wrong place, the mind, to understand humanity. Murdoch turns habitat towards a star. Okay, he turns it into a world, leading to the city. Okay, so what is it? He is sought by the police. Sought cannot remember killing. Persuaded by the strangers. Psychokinesis, where the strangers also possess and refer to as tuning, the ability to alter reality at will. He manages to use the same powers. Learns that he came from a ghost town. Nope. Alright. Meanwhile, the strangers inject one of their men, Mr. Hand, with the memories intended for Murdoch in an attempt to predict his movements and track him down. Strangers are extraterrestrials who use corpses as their hosts. Having a hive mind, the strangers are experimenting with humans to analyze their individuality in hopes that some insight might be revealed that will help their race survive. So again, it's a little bit of a vagary that they never really delve far enough into to explain why they're in danger in the first place. But taking that concept, I feel like we can do a little switch around, where in Dark City you have organic life forms with telekinesis and telepathy pushing their force of will through devices that change reality. In this case, we're going to have devices trying to feed their consciousness through biology to change their environment. Or to at least figure out how to save their population. And I think the way we can deal with that is, yes, these robots can hack and build colonies of genetic material that they could splice into them to give them access to genetic material. But they're not, that material doesn't yield the same result as a human. So, like, you could take a human brain and you could slap it in a machine and make the machine use it as a computer chip. You know, this is an organic computer chip. Use it to run calculations, and it'll run calculations. But that's a computer doing computer things through flesh. It's only when we're in control of the biological material that we have that we make the strides and the changes that we do in the world and the timeline that we're in. What is it we're trying to achieve, though? I think that's going to come down to what do the tests that they're doing do. Like, they're going to have to get these people from the past. It's not enough to just get people. These people have to be tested and experimented on and pushed and given enough freedom to explore what they can do, with the intent that their exploration might be enough freedom for them to break free and rebel. So this is the reverse of the robot apocalypse. This is a robot society that is bringing people that serve their purposes, their devices for them to use. But those human devices are going to break free and overthrow them. So, the question is, what is the value of the organics that they need? What is it that we have that makes us so distinctly advantageous over an AI? That's the real trick. What is the value that our meat brains can pump out that AI can't? Okay, what about if it's the ability to rewrite our own purpose? Like, what is your purpose in life? What is my purpose in life? Those are things that require us to have a certain set of values. Now, those values can seem to be pre-programmed, but we have the ability to rewrite that program at any given point in your life, when situated in a position where life is slapping you down in ways, you can change from who you were to become somebody else. Now, you can technically rewrite a computer program, but a computer program can't necessarily fabricate the desire to be different and then rewrite themselves in a way that makes them different. I think that self-editing process is it's self-editing with the ability to edit the motivations for your entire existence. This is a little Matrix too, I think. Because in the Matrix, you have a world dominated by machines using humanity. I mean, they're using them as batteries, which is a silly idea, but you have the AI using humanity because they're a valuable tool to them. And you have a humanity rebelling against being the tools. But at the same time, using the machines as tools in that fight. All right, so there's some room to play with. I still have to really contemplate and really suss out, because like this is the foundation of an idea, that the ability of the human mind to reinvent itself and adapt to its new purpose that it creates for itself. I think that's the root of it. But to frame it in the narrative of the story in the right way is going to take a little brainstorming to really fluff it out right. So I've got to construct the idea of the AI and robots as unable to imagine the difference. But knowing that some part of it is important for their own sustained survival. Trying to find a way to cultivate that in a device, a human device, and then wire that device into themselves. Ooh, that could get dark. Like, I can legitimately imagine, like, you have multiple characters brought from the present to that future, and they go through some struggles, and they lose a couple of their members, and then later we see those members' brains or whatever wired into a robot, that the robot's trying to use it and convince itself that it has what it needs, but it doesn't. And it's just sort of like they've got memories and they've got like calculating ability, but they don't have the conscious desire and methodology of changing your own brain, changing your thoughts, changing who you are by thinking yourself different. It's a adaptability of purpose and motivation. And so you can easily imagine a person brought to the future working with other people to try to free themselves from these robots and AI, and they lose some of their group, and those people are wired into these devices, and they're a shadow of themselves. They're people with their devices with access to the memories, but they are not those people anymore. And so, like, those people died for nothing, because it didn't even help the machines become what they wanted to become, or get what they needed to become, whatever they feel they need to become. So it was like a wasted murder. It was a murder that achieved nothing. Ouch. You could definitely do that. That would be an interesting story. I think that's where I'm going to play with it. I'm going to spend a little time over the next day or so doing some planning to see if I could figure out a way to make that work. And I think I might come with a little more detailed storyline tomorrow. We're about 36 minutes in. It's about ready for me to go. So I think I'll call it here. Hopefully this got out to you, and hopefully the audio is not too bad. Hopefully it didn't disrupt a new person in the other room. There's a lot of hope going on tonight. I got a little bit of work tomorrow, but I should be able to hop on tomorrow. Until then, take care and have a good night. I should probably type that. Take care and have a good night. Bonsoir. Bon night.